Mission Impossible is probably the most impossible film franchise in the world, all thanks to its lead actor who just won't let the stunts go. But that's Tom Cruise for you, the man who's gone so far as to break his leg but still kept running to complete the scene. That's just one of them though. There are a lot more dangerous ones that we're going to list in today's video, starting with the very first aquarium explosion. At the beginning of our list is the first MI film that brought him the fame to build this crazy franchise, and part of this movie is our first pick, the aquarium scene. It's actually a buildup of Ethan Hunt being accused of betraying the organization, and that's when he realizes going rogue is the only option. But how does he escape? By placing a stick of explosive gum by the 16-ton aquarium, and that's where chaos ensues. In the scene's forefront is none other than Cruise, and while it's one of the tamer sequences from the franchise, it's still impressive to watch. Second on our list is the helicopter scene from Fallout. You've got to be exceptionally talented or absolutely mental to choose to learn how to fly a helicopter for a risky sequence, instead of shooting it in a studio and having a stuntman do it. And Tom Cruise may just be both to have attempted this nail-biting sequence without a fail-safe. Not that they wouldn't have ensured his safety, but guys, he's hanging from that helicopter. How safe do you think that is? But hey, the man pulled it off, and for us, that's a mark of a true action hero. After that, we've got the garage parkour from Ghost Protocol. With Mission Impossible 3's tanking numbers, the fourth movie had to make it good to revive a dying franchise. And while the key scene in the film's marketing was another one that we'll talk about later, the parking garage sequence wasn't a joke either. Volkswagen's auto silos inspired the location they shot in, but they obviously couldn't use a real one. That would have been super impractical, even though Cruise probably could pull it off one way or the other. But the crew decided not to risk it, and thus shot the scene in a Vancouver warehouse. Now onto the scene. The standout scene is obviously Hunt's 3-story jump, but even if you put that one aside, the entire sequence is a dizzying array of talent and good action. On the fourth, we have the underwater heist. If you had to pick between flying untethered in the air or diving deep into the ocean, which one would you choose? Tom Cruise chose both, because where he stayed on top of the world in Ghost Protocol, he was sent down to the depths of the water in Rogue Nation with the underwater heist. Imagine the scene. Hunt has to switch a computer chip with an MIF version of the same so Benji can hack into the security system. But the unit where these chips are stored doesn't allow any metals, so there's Hunt and there are his lungs. In a water-filled cabin, that would seem impossible, but Cruise made it after a hefty training of 2 months and a hectic 2 months of shooting it. By the way, the man spent 6 minutes underwater on a single breath. It even scared the stunt coordinator, Wade Eastwood, and that's probably the reaction we'd have given as well. Then we have the plane hanging sequence. The plane hanging sequence in Rogue Nation ran, so the helicopter hanging sequence in Fallout could walk. Just think about it. You have a multi-millionaire actor whose life is key for the franchise. You take him, strap him up to the fuselage of an Airbus 400, and roll the camera. Such a simple task. Simply scary, we mean. The crew of the film had to go as far as to clean the entire runway of any objects, even the tiniest acorns, because you wouldn't want the plane to spill any valuable cargo now, would you? Cruise did wear protective contacts to keep his eyes safe from any precipitation, but on the other hand, he also kept his harness slack to make the scene look real. The impact of the scene was no less than astounding though, but man, that's one freaky scene to shoot. Moving on, we've got the Arc de Triomphe runaround. The thing with the Mission Impossible films is that there are so many action sequences, you find it hard to pick your favorite. But if we had to select one that raised the hair on the back of our necks and glued our eyes to the screen, it's this one, from Fallout at least. Relatively less risky, the main stake in the scene's a head-on collision that could only go one way, but there's building anxiety to the scene to watch someone speed against traffic. Chris Pratt on a bike being chased by a dinosaur could never, and it's not even like the scene shot in relatively empty space like the air or the sea, or even a runway for example, where ongoing life wouldn't intervene. No, this scene was shot at the Arc, where 12 major streets in Paris meet. Obviously the city wasn't too happy to divert traffic from the area, but gave the film 2 hours anyway. Translate that into filming time, and these guys had a mere 15 minutes to shoot the scene. Thank goodness for Cruise and McQuarrie to complete the shot, with everyone alive. There's also this crazy cliff climb. If you thought hanging from a flying aircraft is scary, imagine teetering on the edge of nothingness as you cling to a rocky cliff with just your hands, legs, and knees. Cruise can probably answer that better, considering he scaled Moab, Utah all alone, with just his instinct, and a director and stunt coordinator yelling instructions at him. Featured in the second movie of the franchise, the scene was hidden from everyone in case the studio watched it, freaked out, and pulled the plug on the entire thing. So we guess the man knew what the stakes were, but the fact that he still chose to do the scene is just crazy. Crazy impressive, we mean. Let's also not forget the train chase and the knife trick. The original Mission Impossible may have gotten a bad rap from people, but you can't deny that the train and helicopter sequence was one thing to shoot. The scene was actually planned well in advance, as Brian De Palma wanted to film a train sequence even before there was any reason for it to exist. This scene's a combination of blue screens, miniatures, and projection mapping that was pretty impressive for 1996. But that fire incident and the entire sequence took so much effort, Cruise was left bleeding and bruised by the end of it. Question is, how does one get over such repetitive trauma, especially considering that it was just the beginning for the man? Another crazy stunt followed that one soon after, where a knife was to land within an inch of his retina. One blink and that man would need an eye patch for life. While the scene was from the second movie years later, it remains one of the few ones where Cruise was in immediate danger. It's always the small things, guys. Remember that. Then on 8th, we have the Halo jump. Executed 25,000 feet in the air with 225 miles per hour in the jump, it's not a one-man job. Of course, the scene did have a great team of stunt coordinators to bring it to life, but in the end, it was again Cruise with his unending ability to make the action happen. Did you know that it took 106 jumps to complete this crazy sequence? Christopher McQuarrie used to review the footage of the day's rehearsal jump every day before flying with the crew to the set at dusk to roll the camera. Now that is one dedicated team, and we're sure no one else could pull such action off if it wasn't for the daredevil duo of Tom and Christopher. Our second last scene is the marionette flail. Mission Impossible wouldn't live up to its name if it didn't give you an eye-popping sequence in every movie. The tradition started with the very first film, where Ethan Hunt was to break into the CIA headquarters to steal the NOC list. He was to hang from an overhead line and balance himself to avoid falling flat on his face. But it kept happening as he kept face-planting repeatedly. The fall wasn't too far, but with the imbalance harness, it was difficult to execute the scene as he wanted. But then the actor asked for one last shot and nailed the scene by keeping pound notes in his shoes to balance the harness. Creative. Also scary, but hey, it does make for a fun watch. Last on our list is the Burj Khalifa. Ghost Protocol's selling shot was none other than Tom Cruise, hanging on the tallest building in the world with a dust storm approaching. See, we get that the film needed a shot to bring the audience to the cinemas, but did it have to be this scary? The film initially started filming with Brad Bird. The film was to go a totally different way, with Ethan becoming the head of the IMF and Jeremy Renner's William Brandt becoming the face of the franchise. But Tom wanted none of it and brought McQuarrie back to the film, who then overhauled the entire second half of the movie to give us the scenes we so love. Including the Burj Khalifa sequence, that's a testament to Cruise's acting and stunt capabilities. That's a wrap for this video. What's your take on the latest season of Stranger Things? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.